50 years ago, the greatest thing in retirement since Social Security happened. You want to know what it is? Before you got to know what it is, you got to give me a thumbs up. I love what people do. Before I tell you the secret of the life, you got to give me a thumbs up. Anyway, it's ERISA, the Employee Retirement Income Securities Act of 1974. And before you hang up your boots and say, I'm getting out of here, trust me, man, this is huge and such a wonderful, wonderful thing. Of course, there's going to be always naysayers. And here's Alicia Munell. I like Alicia. I don't agree with her on much, but I like it. She has some good work that she does, and it makes me think. And I like to think. Believe it or not, I'm a thinking kind of guy. ERISA killed defined benefit pension plans, said a Yale Law School guy. All right. The year is 1974, and that is when ERISA passed, in which made the demise of defined pension plan happen. Alicia says, my view is a lot of other factors contributed to the demise of pensions. All right. But ultimately, this guy says, is this legislation that ultimately sealed this fate? And 100%. I'm going to prove this. That's why I'm so surprised, Alicia. Oh, by the way, look at my hair. It looks good, man. I got that freaking apple cider vinegar in there. It's nice and soft. It smells like a French fry. Oh, on Coney Island, French fries. Great. Think my wife's going to like it and get frisky with me? Put a comment in there to say yes if you think my wife's going to like it and get frisky with me, or put no if you think she's not. How come I can't? Okay, I'm not going to be able to read this because I don't subscribe to that, but I'm going to read it from my phone and you guys can hang out with me. So check this out. Go incognito if it'll recognize us. Hey, no, it doesn't. All right. So right here we go. Hold on a second. 1920s, 40% of union members had coverage with a pension. But the Great Depression devastated union plans and saw the enactment of Social Security. So in the 1940s, business and labor had to recreate the pension system. It expanded dramatically in the 1950s and 60s, thanks in large part to the expansion of employment in firms that already had pension coverage. By the 1980s, roughly half of private sector workers were covered by pensions, and that's where people make a huge mistake. It wasn't half, it was less than half, but either way, being covered by pensions and having a pension is what led to ERISA. I cannot believe Alicia doesn't understand this. Just because you're covered by a pension doesn't mean you get the pension benefit. That's what led to ERISA. Give your old buddy Josh. When I was an infantryman in the Army, I was covered by a pension as long as I stayed in the military for 20 years. What if after 16 years, I'm a staff sergeant, I'm an infantry battalion, I'm staff sergeant, I'm like, man, E6, E7's not coming. I just got to last until I'm 20 years in to get my pension. What if they mandate a certain thing from Pfizer in 2020? I said, I'm not taking that stuff. Oh, but Josh, they mandated other vaccines when you got into the military. Yeah, exactly. That was a choice. But now I'm in. And now, by the way, the Pfizer thing was an emergency EUA, whatever that was called. Emergency authorized EAU, whatever that was called. It wasn't a true vax the way they were sold to us. It just wasn't. I mean, come on. Are we still having this argument? Either way, I don't even care. If I'm 16 years in, I got one more tour before I can get out as a E6 with my pension and full TRICARE and TRICARE for life. And they say, you got to take this. I say, I don't want to take that. Well, you're getting out. Regardless of dishonorable discharge or not, you're getting out before your pension kick in. Oh, and by the way, what does this book right here say from a man, this guy right here, William Grable? Graebner. We're going to look at page 91 and talk about teacher pensions. What was the point of teacher pensions? This is going back all the way to 1890s, by the way, Alicia. And so right here, it was the pension, which had the broadest appeal and the widest application. From the very first, the pension was seldom perceived only as a weapon against age-old dependency. It was indeed a multi-edged tool, designed and engineered to modify the sex and age composition of the teaching force, the market for teachers, and the climate of the profession, and to achieve a number of other aims under the rubrics of economic efficiency, social efficiency, and social justice. That's what a pension does. This book is chock full of things along those lines. Check it out. We are in 1925, the 1925 Kalamazoo Convention, when union officials succeeded in raising the retirement age from 60 to 65. Let's see. Of 17 steam railway funds this guy had received, this consultant, none permitted retirement at 60 and only one permitted retirement at 65. 60 was actuarially unsound. Huh? The man of 70 at this time is fully as capable of securing, sustaining employment as a member of 60 from 1907. So the pensions were saying you can't retire at 60 even though you did railway work. It's crazy. In fact, they talk about in this book about how people are like, they can't do this physical labor anymore when they're 60. They can't. But the union itself was pushing the pension to 65. Why? Because they didn't want to pay it out. All right, so let's keep going here. So Alicia just drops a big wrong. She's wrong. Under defined benefit plans, the employer makes a contribution, pays benefits in the form of a lifetime annuity, and bears the investment and mortality risk. From the employer's perspective, defined benefit plans help manage the workforce by encouraging longer tenure and efficient retirement. Yeah, it does. But what is a pension? It's deferred compensation. That is your money that you're being laid, that you don't have access to until you reach some magic number. And I'm going to go into how many people did not. It's insane, man. If you're a pro-worker, you cannot be pro-pension unless a pension vests like what ERISA did. And when it vests like ERISA did, a company said, I can't afford this. They just can't. Governments, they theoretically can afford it because they can tax. At some point, the chickens come home with the rooster. But at the end of the day, you cannot freaking retire when you wanted to because you weren't vested. But that was deferred compensation. That was your money that the employer was giving you in the future. But if you didn't do whatever they said, jump through hoops and freaking take jabs, you weren't getting it. It's freaking wrong. The 401k in 1978 changed all that. The 401k says, no, you have a right to deferred compensation. You don't have to pay tax until you receive that as compensation. You have a right to that. Now, we still tax you for FICA on that, so Social Security benefits and Medicare. But you don't have to pay Medicare and FICA taxes when you receive that compensation. It is yours. It is yours. Your contributions are yours. Your employer contributions would be vested, I think it's safe harbor. I think it's vested fully in 2 years. And then they have the 5-year cliff or something like that. 5 years is a hell of a lot different than what it used to be. Hell of a lot different. Because you're deferring compensation. I don't want to get it today. I want to get it in the future. I don't want to pay tax on it today. Again, you guys are still subject to Social Security tax, but not income tax. I'll pay that tax in the future. And I can take it when I leave. It's portable, unlike a pension plan. I'm going to show you again. I'm going to prove it to you. But beginning in 1980, things started to change. By 2000, majority of workers with coverage relied on 401k plans. And here's what Alicia says, why this happened. Globalization. Employment declined in large hierarchical firms and unionized industries. Plans became more expensive. Why did plans become more expensive, Alicia? Because they had more vesting. The employees had more vested rights to their deferred compensation. It didn't just magically become more expensive. The companies that had the pension said, hey, we are on the hook for this stuff for Joe and Bob. We don't have to wait 20 years or 30 years, by the way. So let's keep going. The nature of the workforce changed. This makes sure this is true. More female, educated, and young, which reduced the appeal of lifelong careers. Yeah, I get that. And importantly, 401k plans became available. Let's see. I also want to show you that, high-tech firms and small non-unionized companies grew more entrepreneurs. All right. But Langbein, the Yale professor, doesn't disagree with these underlying factors, but rather puts considerable weight on the the positivity done by ERISA. The legislation was designed to save the rights of defined benefit plan participants so that a greater share of them would receive their benefits. It's their money. It's deferred compensation. It introduced participation and vesting standards to make it easier for the workers to establish claims to their money, not the employer's money, their money. And should a plan terminate with inadequate assets, ERISA created the PBGC. While all well-intended, Langbein concludes that ERISA made defined benefit plans too burdensome, 100%. And then vesting rules, 5 years since 1986, which are restrictive and costly and prevent sponsors from using pension to reduce turnovers because it's your money. It's your money. So let's go into what the actual law was based on here. All right, so I'm going to show you guys here. And this is why I come here, because no one else is going to give this kind of freaking gravy. I'm crushed when it comes to this stuff. Everybody else is slushing just because no one else takes the time. It's a political thing for them. And I'm right-wing. And I'm 100% right-wing. Because you're not right-wing, you advocated wealth tax. I'd actually advocate just getting rid of income tax outright and just tax wealth instead. 100%. Absolutely. But I'm still right-wing. And right-wing people, we want to make sure that we protect what is your private property. Deferred compensation is your private property. You worked under the guise of getting this property later on down the road. You still have, that is still your money, and you should still have rights to it, regardless of what some stupid union or company says. It's your money. I care about the individual more about the company than the union. That's for damn sure. All right, so here we're going to talk about right here. This is, maybe it's bigger. The interim report of the activities of the Private Welfare and Pension Plan Study, 1971. Report on the Committee of Labor and Public Welfare in the U.S. Senate. All right, this is the beginning of the end of the old-fashioned way of doing pensions, which were not actuarially sound and they had no vesting. And we're just going to read you a couple things from here because it's fantastic. Current issue of private pension plans. Vesting. One of the major controversies in private pension plan considerations is centered around the concept of vesting. Vesting is generally defined as a non-forfeitable right or interest which an employee acquires in the contributions made on behalf of the employee by the employer. Again, the employer is deferring compensation for the future in a thing called a pension plan. That is your money as the employee. You have access to it. You're supposed to. With respect to the finality of vesting, a distinction may be made as to whether the vesting is absolute or conditional. Absolute vesting would place full title to the benefits of the participant whenever the basic requirements are met, and his rights can be exercised under any circumstances that might terminate his employment. On the other hand, conditional vesting permits the participant to exercise his rights only under certain conditions, usually in the only event of withdrawal. All right. The difficulties, right here, the difficulties resulting from non-existent or inadequate vesting of pensions benefits were dramatically illustrated when the subcommittee on March 31st, 1971 released its initial study of 87 pension plans which covered 10 million people almost. 10 million people. It established that forfeiture of pension benefits by plan participants was extremely high, and that 92% of all participants who left plans which required 11 or more years of service for vesting, and 73% of all participants in the plans with 10 years or less for vesting did not qualify for benefits upon termination of employment. Do you hear that? An earlier study by the Pension Research Council had indicated that while vesting problems did exist, they had not assumed the dimensions indicating later in the subcommittee. It is noteworthy that the President's Commission on Public Policy and Pensions, while noting improvements in plan vesting, recommended mandatory adoption of minimum vesting, concluding that the degree of retirement protection in pension plans varies widely and in many cases remains quite inadequate. It specifically recommended a vesting formula under which 50% of accrued pension would be vested upon 15 years. In general, while there is a discernible trend towards changes to early vesting, employers still prefer to defer vesting on any benefits until the employee reaches a normal or early retirement eligibility standard. Yeah, you think? Despite claims made by appointments to mandatory vesting that much progress has been made in pension plans, plans covering substantial numbers of working without vested are not uncommon. Opponents of mandatory vesting argue will discourage new plan development and impede plan flexibility. There are strong indications that those who oppose universal vesting are not wholly convinced of the merits of the proposal, but resist vesting because of reluctance to accept regulatory measures in any form. 100%. Anyway, are you hearing this? So here we got pensions that had less than 10 years or less for vesting. 73% of people who left didn't even qualify for their money. And then if you had 11 years or more, 92% didn't qualify for their money. That's on pensions that covered 10 million people. So let's go back to this right here, this book right here. So here's the union pensions. A rising cost of living throughout the progressive era in the 1920s reduced benefits and created political problems. For example, the need, for example, to come back to the union membership to ask for benefit increases that would not have existed in a period of stable prices because the unions seldom employed actuaries and might not even know the age distribution of the membership. Union leaders were constantly in legitimate concern about the cost of their plan. Right here, officials of the ITU fund must have been alarmed when a 1909 study of fund usage revealed that 60-year-old applicants, the youngest eligible, were the largest single age of that group. And they're like, how are we going to... that the fund should insure against unemployment was an anathema. So how they're sitting there thinking, how are we going to fund these people? Let's keep going. 1922, pensioners of a rail line in western Maryland were deprived of their annuities, their pensions, when they refused to come back to work as scabs during a strike of enginemen and firemen. Yeah, that's great. But if you had your 401k, you could say, I'm not going back to work because I got my money. It's my money. The case for a pension plan as a form of labor control was first articulated by Frank Vanderlip of National City Bank in 1905 of New York. He said he attributed the railroad's interest in a straight pension to his role in establishing military discipline. For the sake of a pension, an employee would, he believed, sacrifice much of his personal liberty, including his right to strike for better wages or shorter hours. And it goes in here and say, too, by the way, the basis of most pensions from corporate America would have given the rich, the wealthy, high-ranking officers the most money they could possibly get. They had no idea or no desire to give to the freaking the regular employees. None. They wanted away because under the law, because of tax preference. I think it actually might even be in this. I'm not going to look at it. In the U.S. Senate study, it said, hey, we gave the tax preferential treatment to sections 401. And that's ultimately where 401k came in 1978. But what these guys say in the history of retirement was that the pension, primarily from corporate America's perspective, wasn't for the workers, it's for the wealthy executives, and that was it. So anyway, if you don't want employee rights, you definitely want a pension, 100%. And I get it. People say, I have a pension, it's the best thing since sliced bread. Yeah, 100% you do. I don't. You know why? Because I wasn't going to sit in the military for 20 years just to get it. If you did, more power to you. You are a minority, a vast minority, in becoming less and less and less. I like the idea of freedom, being able to control my money when I get it, so I don't have to have some guy tell me I got to take this, or some freaking union boss, or something saying, oh, we don't have enough money for you. Sorry, we didn't do actual discipline, or some freaking labor guy, or not labor guy, executive say, hey, you want to strike, you're not getting your pension. No. I said, but that's my money. That's deferred compensation. It's my money, not yours. No, sorry. You got to wait, or a union guy is telling you got to wait till you're 65 instead of 60. I'm like, but I'm a freaking coal guy, shoveling the coal into the freaking engine. Sucks to be you. This is the best thing that ever happened other than Social Security. Oh, you must be a commie to say that, man. This is where I just lost my taste of libertarianism. I'm like, there have been many good, there's too much regulation, don't get me wrong, but there's also good regulation that's helped many people survive it's just bad things, man. We have Social Security, we have 401ks. One is a guaranteed deferred a guaranteed cost of living adjustment annuity pension. The other is you can do whatever you want with. You want to take it to Vegas? It's your money. It's freedom. You want to put in the S&P 500? You can do it. You can do whatever you want. You want to put the G funds, the TSP? You can do it. No one's stopping you. It's your money. It's your money. It's freedom. And the pension, the ERISA was the best thing that ever happened to enhance freedom and to make people be able to the ability to freaking quit their jobs when they're done. What happened for me to open up this business that I have, Heritage Wealth Planning, was solely because of my 401k. Not because of a pension, it's because of my 401k. Love to hear your thoughts. God bless. We'll see you.